It's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
Introducing the Blazor Power Hour.
No, seriously, it's time for Blazor Power Hour.
Hey friends, it's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
You're checking out the Blazor Power Hour.
Welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
It's Blazor Power Hour. Go Ed!
It's time for the Blazor Power Hour. And the chairperson.
All right, hello folks, welcome to the build edition of Blazor Power Hour. We're going to check out some of the new bits that are dropping today, and some of it came yesterday. That is the best intro, by the way. I have to once again thank the community folks that added to my intro and made it as awesome as it is. I got a new ending there by Layla from Layla Codes It. I'll be switching some of the folks that you see on that intro from time to time now that I have such a amazing cast lined up on that. So much fun. It's build week. There's a lot going on at build. There's content running right now, but some of you tuned in to see what I'm up to, so I'm gonna try to not disappoint you, and we're going to take a look at the process of installing the brand new bits and what those new bits are, and try to tinker with some of these things today. So first thing I want to start off with is a link that I'm going to share in chat. If you didn't see this go out already, the preview for Visual Studio's dropped today. So I'll get that link out to you all that are watching now in case you want to install that. I typically don't install these from the download page, but if you don't have Visual Studio yet, you're going to want to click this install button, and it'll take you over to the Visual Studio page where you can download the installer for this. I already have this on my machine. I'll show you what I've done this morning so far. Let's take a quick look before we do that at what is in this release. Some of the stuff that I don't personally use, but I still find that it's nice that C++ is getting some new features. So we've got some new C++ support. Git productivity, I use this a lot personally. I go in and do Git commits and merge projects and that type of thing right inside Visual Studio. So the Git experience is getting much better, and it looks like we have some new features here as well We have a new branch picker. We can filter local and remote branches. So nice to see that we've got some stuff coming there. We can, I believe we could check out before, but it looks like they've moved some of the UI to make this a little bit easier to check out branches from a remote. Looks like we're able to prune our branches too, which is good. So you don't, if you have a large project, you can make this a little bit easier to parse through in Visual Studio. So all around good changes there. It looks like we've got some some diffing stuff that's improved as well. The diffing in Visual Studio makes things so much easier. You get these nice little command bars that come up, and you can check in the latest local, or you can keep the remote with the click of a button. Dan Siegel's asking, can you select individual lines and chunks to check in? I don't know if you can like cherry pick inside of this or not. You can do merges in here, but I don't know if you get check boxes necessarily. But I believe you can edit the merge in process. Let's check out .NET Productivity. What do we have here? I haven't had a chance to run through this yet, but I like what I'm seeing. Remove unused references has made its way, it looks like, to the project scope view here in Solution Explorer. Remove unused references is nice. Used to have to do this directly from the CS file itself, but it looks like you might be able to do that at the project level now. It looks like you have to enable this, by the way. So it's a command that is enabled under Tools, Options, Text Editor. Let's revisit this one because I think that's something that I want to enable on my application. Let's see here. Dan says, I won't use any get tool that forces me to check in the whole file. A lot of times you end up auto-formatting and have to debug code. Not sure if I've run into that myself. I don't know. Some IntelliSense improvements as well. Looks like we've got some good stuff coming. I know they're prepping for Visual Studio 2022. And there's been a roadmap released on that as well. And the roadmap has a lot of promising things in it. Looks like we're going to get in Visual Studio 2022 the improvements on extensibility, like theming and snippets and custom tools and things in Visual Studio. So looking forward to that as well. Let's see. Preview add support for .NET MAUI, and this is why I downloaded it. So let's pause here for a second. We're going to talk about MAUI today. This is part of the next set of releases we're going to chat about in just a moment. So this is the main reason that I downloaded and installed Visual Studio Preview today. So we have support for MAUI in Visual Studio now. It looks like we have a demo app that we could also download from this link and check out. So we may be doing that on a future show too. Let's see here, and that's about it. So they saved the best for last year. We've got the MAUI support in Visual Studio, the very reason I installed it. Let's check out the installer real quick. I use the Visual Studio installer to manage these, and today when this release shipped, I could show you here if this is something that you want to follow along with. If you have it installed already, what you'll see is an update button similar to the one that I have on regular Visual Studio. You just hit that, it'll run through the installation for you, or if you open the app, it will ask you to update through the sidebar notifications as well. So you can always use that. If you haven't installed it yet, just click on the links in that article I posted. And you can download that as well. And Dan's saying that Maui did not work for him, and he had to use the Comet extension in Visual Studio Code to build the Maui app. So we'll check this out in a minute. Hopefully this works for us. I did see in one of the threads that there are some known issues, so we'll read through those as well if we run into any problems. All right, so make sure you grab Visual Studio. I already installed it here, so I won't go through anymore. It's just one of those click and update things, but it takes a while. So I went ahead and installed it before the show started. What I haven't installed yet is ASP.NET Core Preview 4, because I wanted to do this while I was live. So if any of you wanted to follow along, or you haven't seen that process before, or you're worried about it conflicting with other versions of .NET on your system, we can work through that. So Preview 4 is available now. We've got a laundry list of things here. Let's not read through every single one of them. Some of these are a little bit less important than others. They're all important, but some just we don't want to waste too much time lingering on. The hot reload updates are something that I really want to check out. The hot reload was added in the last version of .NET 6 Preview. So in Preview 3, we got some of those hot reload bits, but I saw something in here that was really, really interesting that I want to share with you, so we can chat about that. Mr. Sultan Birdum Christomars, we are not doing CSS today, unfortunately. We are talking about the latest Blazor bits. So .NET Preview 4 shipped, and we have all new Blazor stuff to play with today. But there might be some things in here that interest you. This hot reload thing is pretty cool. We'll talk about that in a second as we scroll down here. Improved single-page app templates. We could look into that and see what all's there. And welcome, Curious Drive. I see you there in chat. How you doing, my friend? Blazor error boundaries. This one is interesting to me. I've been doing some error handling on my own, but it looks like we have some patterns now that are in place that can help us with error handling in Blazor apps, which is nice. I'm glad there's some opinions being shared by the .NET folks on how to do this. So that is a good feature to have. Another huge one here is Aot Compilation. So ahead of time compilation is going to let us precompile some of our Blazor bits down to WebAssembly so they execute faster and better. And .NET Maui apps, there's a new template here we'll talk about. And then just the team always making things faster. The .NET team has really stepped up to provide a very performant version of .NET since moving to Core. That was one of the main things they wanted to tackle when they moved to Core. So they wanted it to be one of the fastest frameworks out there, and I think they've done really well at that. So let's scroll through some of these. We'll do the getting started after we wrap up some of the changes and the notes here. We'll come back to this getting started, and we'll start a new project up after we install the bits. .NET Hot Reload. I wish they had done something for Blazor WASM with ASP.NET Core as backend. Might need to expand a little bit more on that, Mr. Curious Drive. So I think what you're saying is most of the hot reload stuff is client-side development-based, and there's not a lot of support for hot reloading if you change something on the server side. There may be something in the future, though, because I think they added support for hot reloading in Razor pages and views as well. So I don't think that ASP.NET Core in general was left out. This minimal APIs thing is something that doesn't have to do with Blazor in general. It's more of an ASP.NET thing. So you can create very minimal web applications. If you don't want to run even MVC or Blazor, any of those things, you can just set up endpoints that return strings or HTML very easily. So you can build your own framework if you wanted to. So they've made this extremely easy with this map get, and you're basically mapping a verb, an HTTP verb, to some sort of response. And that's about it. That's all you have to do to create an endpoint and work with it in ASP.NET. I'm not going to pretend I know anything about C# 10, so I'm going to skip over that one for now. New hosting APIs. Again, I think this has to do with just ASP.NET in general and just setting up your own little web application. Tech and Power benchmarks. This looks like an server MVC controller thing. So some performance improvements on ASP.NET Core again. Async streaming. This is going to be with Web API endpoints. So we've got asynchronous streaming of JSON responses, HTTP logging middleware. Trying to get down to the Blazor stuff here. Here we go. Improved single page SPA application templates. Okay, this is the Angular and React stuff. So if you're into Angular and React, there are ASP.NET templates that will help you build those apps. Here's the gem I was looking for. The hot reload stuff. So hot reload, it looks like Curious Drive says this works when it is a standard or a standalone WebAssembly app, but not when it's an ASP.NET Core hosted app. Okay, we'll have to check that out and see how that plays out. So this is cool. I had to reread this one to really understand what's happening here. So hot reload is when you save a file and say you change some code or some markup in your component. As soon as you save, the hot reload mechanics will reload the portion of the application that you changed without reloading the entire page. And this can be very productive for like prototyping, troubleshooting, and that sort of thing. So this is a feature that people have wanted for a long time. This is something that I didn't expect to see, and I think this is a really cool feature. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here so we can see the video of what's happening, because this is an interesting feature that I think has some potential. And what they've done is they've added this apply code changes button. So if you want to write code and not even save it and wait for the hot reload to happen, you can hit the apply changes button, and notice they haven't saved here. So they're changing in this example. They're changing code. It's not saved. You can see the asterisk up here at the top. They're coming over and pressing the hot reload button to say, load the code that we have in edit right now, and let us preview that in the browser before I even save it. And I think that's really cool. And yeah, so Michael Bond says the best part about hot reload is it maintains the app's current state. And even without saving, it's doing that now, Michael. Isn't that cool? Greetings from Cuba. Hey, thanks for tuning in from Cuba. Welcome to the show. So this is something I want to check out. Let's see. Hot reload is a work in progress, so there is a number of limitations. You must run with the debugger attached. So that's something that we need to look at, Curious Drive. Are we attaching the debugger, attaching the debugger when we are coding? Code changes can only be applied to C# files. Changes to Razor files. CS HTML files don't work yet. Oh, Oh, Razor and CSHTML files don't work yet. Ooh, okay. So there are some catches here. Applied changes don't force the UI to update yet, so UI updates will need to be triggered manually. I don't know is this for hot reload in general, or is this for the new apply code changes feature, I wonder. Changes can't be applied to WebAssembly apps yet. So they're addressing these issues. Again, this is preview 4, so we've got some time yet to fix these things. Yeah, that's an excellent point too. It makes fixing layouts much easier. So you're not reloading your entire app just to tweak some layout values in CSS and that type of thing. If you're using .NET Hot Reload through Watch, changes will now be applied to Blazor core hosted WebAssembly apps. So if you use .NET Watch, Curious Drive, it looks like changes are applied to ASP.NET Core hosted Blazor WebAssembly applications. Changes are also reapplied if you refresh the browser. So there's actually an entire detailed blog post on Hot Reload. So let me link these into chat as well. So I'll pop these in chat, so if anybody wants to check those out, they can. I'll even copy the link from this one as well. So the first link is the page I'm on. The second link is the specific Hot Reload page. Rocketman C# is very productive and very fun. This one is huge, and it gets like 2 lines of text. So I guess because there were workarounds for it, but now type param can be constrained. So our generic components can be a little more scoped to specific types. So this can be really handy if you want to. It's really hard to come up with like a good concrete example off the top of your head on these things, but if you wanted, for example, set up a component that has a template region and you want it to be not a very specific type, but maybe a range of types. So maybe they're classes with certain interfaces on them, or you want it to be a class and not just a value type, something like that. You can scope these down using this standard C# generic type constraints syntax. So that's helpful. This is more for people that are building APIs. So you're building code that's reusable and you want to share across multiple projects, or you have an open source project or maybe a commercial project. That's kind of a big deal for us folks. Error boundaries is it's an error handling component. So it says right here, the error boundary component will render its child content as long as everything is running smoothly. If an unhandled exception is thrown, the error boundary renders some error UI. So this is kind of a wrapper that you can throw around portions of your application. And if there's any errors inside of that boundary, it will bubble up to the error boundary to show a message. And this can be very, very helpful. Currently in Blazor, that error boundary is the application. So you have in Blazor just a banner that shows up at the bottom of the page and tells you have an error. And generally by then it's too late to really do anything from a user standpoint. The developers kind of dropped the ball there. So this gives devs a little bit more incentive, I believe, to handle those errors in a much more graceful way. And I think putting these, it's kind of an opinionated thing, but it's a good opinion to have. And Michael's got it too here. So Curious Drive doesn't like the banners, and Michael says, this clears up a lot of if statements in my markup. So yeah, this encourages developers to handle their errors. This is something I've been saying for quite a while now. On the Blazor front is we need to trap our UI errors and make sure they're handled gracefully, so our users don't get hit with those stupid yellow banners. So, for example, on this one, there's an error boundary on the counter. If it exceeds a certain number, it's going to throw an exception. And now it's happened at the component level, and the UI boundary is showing the error within the application rather than that yellow banner coming up. It's more in the page of the application. And there's ways to customize this as well. So you have your error boundary, the child content, and the error content. I think the scope of where they're using this is a little bit too high level. What I would imagine is you want to put this around, maybe a component that fetches data. So maybe in our fetch data, we'll maybe take a look at this one in a few minutes. So we could wrap our fetch data in there and check for errors before we blow up the entire application. Ahead of time compilation. This is going to make our apps a lot faster. This is something that we want to do on deployment. So if you read through this, it talks about how to turn it on, and you want to do it when you do .NET Publish, because it's going to make your compilation take much longer. We'll go through all the details here. It does make some of your code larger, though, so be aware of that. So you're going to get code that's larger. It's building out a WASM compilation for your app, so be careful with it. But if you have an app that has a lot of interactivity, live updating of UI, that type of thing, you may need that. Or if it has some long-running process. For example, we have our Telleric UI for Blazor libraries that will do PDF creation and conversions and things. Those can take a little bit of time on WebAssembly. You're probably better off running them on server side. But if you have Aot compilation, then it would possibly make those work client side as well. And then we have the new .NET MAUI templates in here, and this is what I want to get into over the next 30 minutes here. We'll install these new templates, and we will run them and see how well they work. And as Dan said, he had some issues. So we'll see how that works out. Let's see. So Windows. Oh, this is how to run all of the various flavors of these applications. I'm scrolling through it quickly because I want to actually do that live instead of just reading about it. So let's go up to the top again. So it says that Preview 4 is now available. I haven't installed it yet, so let's look at some of the process of installing it. This is something that I've been doing lately, and I'll bump the font up here so everybody can see a little bit better. Let's go get the screen size here, and we'll match the output of YouTube here and Twitch at 1080p. That should help with the font size a little bit. We'll keep those changes there. And then I'll open my file browser back up. I have a source folder with repos. I think this is like the default that Visual Studio uses now. So you have this repos folder right here. I've got another folder called repos 6. You can name this whatever the heck you want. But what I've got inside of the repos 6 folder is the latest version of .NET that I'm working with. If I go under repos, the the one that doesn't have a number, you'll find a global.json file in it. So I've got this global.json file. We'll open that up. And I would encourage you to do something like this. We'll just open this with Visual Studio Code. And on your folder that you're working in for maybe your work projects, stuff that you're using in production, that type of thing, create a global.json folder in the root of that, where that source code is going to be, and create this global.json file and set the version number to the version of .NET that you're working with. Take care, Mr. Christomars, Mr. Salton Burnham. So if you drop this version in a global.json file in the projects that you do not want to be on the latest version of .NET, you want to lock in a specific version of .NET. So for this folder, this source repos folder, everything that's inside of it is going to be .NET 5. And this is hard-coded. We're not going to change from .NET 5 unless I come to this file and change it, or I delete the file. So you can test this. So you can see I've got quite a few projects in here that I don't want to be jumping around to different versions of .NET. If I come into the command line in this repos folder, and I say I don't need all caps, we don't need to scream, .NET _version, you can see that it is at 5.0.202. This is not the latest version I have installed on my system. It is just a version I have installed on my system, and that global.json file is scoping that directory to it. So if I go to repos 6, this is my .NET 6 folder here, and if I do the same .NET version command, you can see I'm on .NET 6 100 preview 3, and we're going to upgrade this one. So Dan's got a tip here as well. Instead of hard coding, you can disable preview versions from the repos folder and opt in as you play with previews. So is that something you can do through the global JSON file? I haven't tried it that way before, Daniel. So what I'm going to do is install the latest version of .NET now. So I'm going to go back to the link that I shipped over the chat earlier and click on this is now available, and it should have a download link in here, or you can go directly to it. I'll pop this in the chat. There's another property Dan says that is allow pre-release is false on that directory. So what Dan's saying is in that global.json file, you can put that little snippet of code in there instead of the version number that you want it to be at, and then your latest release will stay up to date. Now, the difference there is in November when .NET 6 ships, that folder will then be all on .NET 6 if I create a new project in there. So just something to be aware of. So I want to get the SDK for Preview 4. I'm on Windows. I'm on x86. I'm going to go ahead and grab that one and download the exe for that. So it looks like I've got some reading to do on global.json. I don't use it too extensively, so these things are really nice tips. I don't know how in-depth I want to get onto those, but it is very helpful. So let's go ahead and install this. And it's one of those very straightforward installers. It's just going to go through a little status bar here, and when it's done, it should be on our system. We can go back to our command line and do a .NET version and see. So Timebender, either you missed it or you might have come in just a second after we talked about it. The global.json file is going to make it safe for you to do what we're doing. So as long as you have that global.json file at the root, remember these things are root level, so anything above the global.json file or a child of this, this folder will be in .NET 5. So I'll show it again real quick for Timebender here. So I have two folders. I have source repos, and I have a global.json file in my source repos folder. This is my, for all intents and purposes, my production folder. I have a global.json in here, and on this global.json file, I've set mine to where it only allows a specific version of .NET to run in that folder. And if I do file new project in that folder, you'll see, we'll go into the command line and check these out in a minute. You'll see that it's going to stay at this version no matter what I do. And that's the way I've got mine set up. So I just did .NET version before the install, and I've got preview 3. Let's see what happens now that I've installed preview 4. And it looks like I'm still on preview 3 here. Let's try closing the PowerShell out really quick. I did run the installer. I did get a confirmation that it was done. Let's go back and try this again. Source, repos. Whoops, I'm on repos. I need cd cd repos 6, and then we'll zoom in so you can see a little better. We'll do another .NET _ version, and it's still showing preview 3 here. So let's see, let's do some troubleshooting, see what we've got going on. I don't believe there's any more global JSONs in here that are mucking anything up. I don't believe we have to reboot after this installer. We ran the installer. We're trying to verify the completion here. Source again, repo, or let's just do it right here and see. .NET. I'm still getting preview 3 in this. So if I have to reboot, which I don't believe you normally have to do, that's going to kick me off stream. So I believe I've done this on show before without an issue. Let's try running the installer one more time and see if it didn't. No, it says it's completed because it's showing repair on install. Let's try this one more time. Make sure we've got it completely installed here. If I have to reboot, this is going to be awkward. It won't end the show, but I will disappear for a quick moment while it does reboot. I can only ask that you stick with me for a moment if that's something I have to do. What we can also do is go into Visual Studio and see if it has picked up on this .NET 4 installation as well. I find it odd that rebooting is not in the instructions. Yeah, I will just drop an intro again real quick if I have to reboot to get this going. It's the only other thing I can think of that it says prepared successfully. So let's go see what's happening here. So we'll do another .NET version. And I'm still seeing preview 3 here. Let's see what else we have. List SDKs. So I have many SDKs installed. One that is not showing up is Preview 4. I did hit the SDK, not the runtime, right? Yeah, there's no runtime either. That's desktop. Let's see, ASP.NET. Yeah, no runtime installed either. So let me do a quick reboot, folks. Let's see if a reboot does the trick. I don't understand why. Do I need to uninstall Preview 3 first? I shouldn't have to, no. It shouldn't be a thing. I'm going to do a quick be right back, and we'll try this after a reboot.
It's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
Introducing the Blazor Power Hour.
No, seriously, it's time for Blazor Power Hour.
Hey friends, it's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
You're checking out the Blazor Power Hour.
And just that quick, I rebooted. So thanks for sticking with me. And let's go back to the Hall of Mirrors. Let's go back to the command line and try that one more time. And then, let's see, we've got, Michael says, I've been using the Maui check to get the latest .NET bits. I don't know what the Maui check is. Let's try the command line real fast. And we've got .NET _ version. And I'm still showing preview 3. So let's, oh, that's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, I did the, here, I'll zoom in again, Dan, and I did the list SDKs last time, and I've got, you can see all the SDKs I have installed. So the one I'm missing is the .NET 6 Preview 4. So what is going on here? Uh, 6 preview. What is Maui check? Maui check. The Maui check tool. Okay. So let's try this. I don't know why the basic instructions aren't working here. So we'll give this a shot. right, so Maui check was installed. And thanks for this, guys. Thanks for the tip here. And then we just run Maui check. We need the latest JDK. Okay, sure. So what I didn't look at before I started running this was, has it been updated for preview 4? So it was updated 3 hours ago. So it looks like, yeah, they do have version 4 on here. So somebody's keeping this up very up to date. The Android SD, I'm going to skip the Android SDK for now. And then here we go. .NET SDK preview 4. Yeah, I'd like to install that yet again. Let's see if it works the last time here. So this is what's I think is helpful about live streaming is you get to see troubleshooting in action. And thanks for the tips on how to do this with this Maui Check app. I will have to run through this again with the Android emulator and make sure I'm on the latest version of Android. I just know that's a larger download and I didn't want to hold up the show, so I skipped it. Did I skip the x64? I installed the x86 and I should have installed the x64. Is that what I did? Let's see. Downloads. Oh, I did. Trent got it right there. So let me point out the comment here. I didn't notice I did that. I grabbed the x86 and I should have grabbed the x64. That's why it's not showing up, because I'm not running in 32-bit. So it's not even showing it as an SDK. So I grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, thanks, guys. Mr. Magoo saw it as well. So that was the problem. It looks like it's reinstalling, though. So this should get me on the correct version of it. But I learned something new, though. This Maui check thing is actually pretty neat. So I'm going to share that in chat for the people that didn't catch that. Indeed. I have Charbeneau'd myself. So this install seems to be taking a while. Hopefully this finishes up soon. So this Maui check tool, what it does is it checks for all of the dependencies that are required to run a Maui app. And one of the things that it's looking for is the Android SDKs and the JavaScript, or the Java development kits, the JDKs, which I'm fairly up to date on, but not the latest version. So I might need to update those as well for this to work properly. But let's do .NET version now, and it should be, there we go. We're at preview 4. And then to circle back on something, we'll cd over to source repos, and let's clear so we get back up to the top of the screen. Let's do .NET version here. We're still on .NET 5 there because that has our global JSON file in it. Again, that's our production folder. And then if we go over to repos 6, which doesn't have any global JSON file attached to it, it's going to be on the latest preview 4. So there we go. So if we learned anything from this so far, make sure you grab the right installer, or just run Maui check. And then there's the bleeding edge. The bleeding edge folks can go with the -dev and get like the nightly builds, and really live by the seat of your pants. We're going to go ahead into, let's go back to the docs for that ASP.NET page again for real quick. Let's see if I can find it in my history here. History.NET for preview. There we go. Boom. All right. So we did the preview 4 is now available bits. I want to get down to the Maui Blazor app template right here. So we need to run another installer now. So we've got install. Oh, hey, look at that. The Maui check thing is part of this. I just read right past it. So run Maui check, run .NET new Blazor Maui app. So let's go into our repo 6 folder and we'll new this up. And what is the problem here? No template found. I thought I did that. Blazor.NET new install. We did that. So there's no installer for the template though. .NET new Blazor Maui. I don't have that. Is there a separate link for this template? Because I don't see it. I don't see the template that it's calling out for. This Maui Blazor template. The only thing that I skipped was the Android SDK. I do have a version of it. Yeah, I don't know. You can also create it in Visual Studio, so let's go there. So let's go over to Visual Studio. We'll just pull the installer up. It'll launch us from there. We want this version. Let's make sure, okay, no updates are available. We'll go ahead and launch that. We'll do create a new project. Let's see if it's in this. It's chugging along at the new project templates. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to try Maui. No matches found. This is proving to be a problematic day here. Blazor. There is no Maui. There is no Maui anything in here. The docs are a lie. The cake is a lie. So let's read through a little bit and make sure I didn't skip anything. Blazor enables you to build Maui apps. So let me run Maui check one more time, and the installer might take a bit. I don't think this is it though. So we'll just double check and make sure. I have some system images missing. That shouldn't be it. This is all emulator stuff. I doubt this has anything to do with it. So the fact that I don't see it there, let's go to NuGet. These actually appear on NuGet as well. So let's look for Maui Blazor and see if it might have it in there under that. Nope. No. Include pre-release is checked. Yeah, Maui check should install the templates, but I am not seeing those templates. This is going to be a long install, so we may not get to see the new Blazor Maui stuff today. So let's sidebar this and look at Let's do a file new Blazor WebAssembly app. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me go back. I saw a Maui. I thought I saw something that said Maui. Never mind. We will do this under repos 6. Web application 6. Doesn't matter what we call it. Oh, what is AutoMod doing to here? Let me see. Give me 1 second here. Twitch. If I get into my control panel here, I can give you some special abilities maybe. All right, Dan, let's see what's happening with the bot. It's not showing me that it's the bot is. What is the bot doing? Is it making it so you can't post links? Go to GitHub. All right. I'll do that 1 second. Let's see what this is doing here. Missing SDK workloads. Sure. Let that install in the background. We're going to create a new Blazor project. Let's do ASP.NET Core hosted. Preview 6. Yay. Create. This is just a regular Blazor app. Try running Maui check in an elevated shell. Workload installer requires admin. Here we go. Here's something that looks suspicious. .NET SDK packs Maui template not installed. There it is. There it is. Maui check is going through it now. It looks like this is... There we are. Now we're getting the templates, folks. I didn't do anything different except for when it went through before, it said system images are missing, and I went ahead and installed those. And for some reason that triggered this. SDK packs are missing. And now it's getting the files for it. So now it says everything looks great. We'll do .NET New. No, that's Web API. Maui Blazor. There it is. It finally did it. So I ran Maui check again, and this time it did what it was supposed to do. So second time's a charm, I suppose. So we'll go ahead and exit this Visual Studio instance here. We'll circle back on that later. What I really wanted to look at was this Maui stuff. So we'll do .NET New. Let's go over to the docs and run it from their example, because I'm going to end up with a project in my root directory, which I don't want to do. And this one, nope, that's AOT. There we go. This one with the O, -O should put it in its own project. App was created successfully. Microsoft Maui template is not found in the NuGet feeds. Oh, of course it's not. It's not supposed to be. Failed to check for update. So for some reason it's looking at a bad NuGet feed. It created the app successfully though, so it couldn't find an update and it went with the version it has. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so let's run some Visual Studio from here and see what we get. Oh, I already have this running. Good. Prism Maui's repo has the NuGet config you have to add. Why is it up on a private? Why is it up on a private repo? A private NuGet feed. Let's see, we'll do open, and then we've got Maui Blazor. I did open folder. I want open solution. Source, repo 6, Blazor Maui app, and open. And, whoa, why am I over here? Do I have to be in this mode? Like, why? It just jumped me right into my settings screen. It doesn't tell me why it did it. I guess this is for the Microsoft Store, I suppose. We have to have that turned on so it can sideload apps into the App Store. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Thanks for the cheer. Coil TwitchBot. Appreciate that. Preview 5 will have it as a workload. There, let's see. Did that do it? I don't know what AutoMod is doing to you. It says you're bullying. I don't know why, Dan. So I pulled up the tools for the bot, and it says you're bullying me, Dan. I don't know why that it's coming across as bullying, but sure. So what do we have in the solution here? We've got our Maui app. We have iOS, which I won't be able to run until my Mac comes. We have Mac Catalyst, Pages, the only thing I recognize so far. Resources, Shared, and www.root, main.razor, startup CS, and then mainpage.xaml. So it looks a little bit different than the last time we looked at the project structure here. These were in separate projects before. So these are now all in a single project, and we have some dependency yelling at us. This is, I think it's just telling us that it is in preview. If we go to error list, no, there's, oh my gosh. Everything is blowing up like crazy. It is all errors. Because of what? Because of that NuGet feed, possibly. Let's try this again. Okay. Yeah, I don't need to do this right now. This is a disaster. This is what happens when you play with the latest bits. I don't know what it's trying to do. Wizard will guide you through local iOS device. I don't have an iOS device right now. So I guess it has the iOS stuff built in. Before, you could just go in and delete the Mac and iOS stuff that you can't run. I am so confused as to what it's trying to do. let's check the docs again. So we'll create the project. If you think this is bad, run it with dev. Yeah, this doesn't work. Yeah, so before these were all in separate projects, and you could take off the iOS stuff if you didn't have a Mac to run it, because I don't have a way to compile it, because Apple locks their ecosystem down so tight that you can't even do dev for it unless you have a Mac, which is ridiculous. So I had to buy a Mac Mini, and it's still in the mail. Blazor WebView. The app code logic lives in the Maui app project, which is set up as a multi-targeted iOS, Android, and Catalyst. The WinUI project is used to build for Windows. And okay. So they're going to merge the Windows one in as well eventually, it says. The web views in the main page of the project. Let's see if I can switch this over to the Win. No, I don't want the package. I want this to be my default. Set as default. Where's set as default? There it is. Set as default. And then let's see if we can build that one. No. There's 18 errors in here. Good Lord. Missing an assembly reference. Does not contain the namespace Microsoft. So this Maui template is not working on my machine. So this was what I was talking about, though. If you scroll down, I think other people were having issues with this. Other people are having installs with installation issues. Missing NuGet packages. Installing Microsoft. There we go. So this is the NuGet package sources that we need to add. So they added packages that aren't available on NuGet.org. So we need to do is add a new package source. This is bad, folks. Like, I love the .NET team. This is a little bit of a stumble, though. So what we need to do is come into our tools. And I think this is stuff Dan was trying to point me towards earlier. I promise I wasn't trying to ignore that. I just trying to do this step by step to see what the experience is here. Let's just do it from here. Dependencies, manage NuGet packages, and then we click the gear icon. We could edit the package file directly as well, but we can add it here. We'll say +, .NET 6, and then the package source is listed on the page here. This is the package source. Oh my Lord. Okay. We shouldn't have to do this. Hit that, hit OK. I'm going to restart Visual Studio. A lot of times if you add a new package source, you have to restart Visual Studio. I don't know if they fixed that. I'm not going to tempt fate today. It doesn't look like fate wants to be tempted. I think I have another show starting on this channel at 11:30, by the way, so we're about out of time here. I didn't expect to run into so many issues trying to get this to work. Blazor Maui app, yay. We got that installed. At least you see what you're up against when you're ready to try this yourself. So the errors are accumulating. That's not good. If I end up with more errors than I had last time, we'll know we're stepping in the wrong direction. Let's try to Restore NuGet packages. It says finished. NuGet package restore failed. See error warning messages. All right. Womp womp. All right, I'm going to abort mission here. This is not working. Close solution. So, if we go back to the release notes here, I would say this is not ready. It looks nice in the screenshots. I hope we get to play with it in the next release or some patch of over the next few days. But the .NET Blazor Maui app, I would say if you try it, good luck. Let's check out some of the other features, though. So I created a web application with Blazor earlier. I wanted to check out the hot reload situation. Let's see if there were any changes in the template, by the way. Let's go to main layout and see. Okay, so they didn't change. Oh, geez, what now? Error activating remote language server. Okay. I don't see the error component that they just released in here. So wondering if they added that to the template. They did not. Oh God, is it going to keep popping this message every time I change a file out here? All right. So let's see if hot reload works. I think it's a debugger has to be attached. We'll go ahead and run with debugging. And the notes said that WASM hot reload with ASP.NET Core as a server was working in this release. So we'll try this out. We'll see if we get hot reload. I see a little button here. That's good. So let's try this out. Let's pin this over here. No, we don't need a console. Oh, I didn't realize that console was. I just broke it. I guess it runs in Kestrel instead of IIS by default now. I didn't manually tell it to do that. So let's put Visual Studio on the side and a running app on the side. Let's minimize that. And we'll go back to our Solution Explorer and check our counter. Let's go to counter. If we count up 1, 2, 3, that seems to be working. We'll do plus equals 2, and then where did the button go? There it is. It's getting squished. So the hot reload button is here, and it says we don't even have to save anymore. We can just hit the reload and then come back, and now it's counting by 1 still. It's all lies. It's all lies. None of it works. Let's try saving and clicking. And we're still counting by 1. Did I not read this correctly? Apply code changes button. Yada, yada, yada. Changes can't be applied to WebAssembly yet. Okay, so that makes sense. But then I saved it, and it didn't do anything. Oh, .NET Watch is what it needed. That's what it needs. So let's try killing this. I thought it said it had to be in debug mode, yet it's in .NET Watch. So let's do this. It doesn't work in Razor files, but then they show it working in Razor files. There are examples in a Razor file. Run in a terminal. So we're in a terminal down in the corner here. We'll say .NET watch hot reload enabled. It just said. Okay, so it just said hot reload enabled. So if I scroll up here, hot reload enabled. For a list of supported edits, see aka ms something something hot reload. So let's check that out. Oh my gosh. I can't copy because it shuts it down. This is why I hate the Windows terminal. I don't know how to copy from here. Okay, let's just do .NET Watch again. I normally use my own command line terminal. So let's see what does work. So we'll go back to the counter, and it's going by 2s now because I did edit that before that rerun. Let's change it to 20, something that's very obvious. Save it. Hot reload change succeeded. Current state is 6. Hey, there we go. Control Shift C is what I need to do. Oh. Gotcha. So this did work. This did work. With .NET Watch enabled, I have hot reload. So I'm happy now. I've got something working. So here, let's move this Solution Explorer down so you can actually see. And we'll zoom in the font a little bit more. So if I change this to 200, let's see if the little fire icon does anything in this. Where is it? I guess that's not a thing yet. Okay. So with .NET Watch, I don't get that, obviously, because I'm not running it from here. So it doesn't even know. So, but if I do save, it says hot reload succeeded, and then I click and I can immediately see that change. So that is cool. Yeah, there seems to be some confusion around the notes here. It is hard being a program manager. I have to give Daniel Roth some slack. These changes, when you're coming up to a deadline, things change a lot and very frequently. And if you're blogging and posting in different places, things can get a little misconstrued. So you kind of expect these things with a new release like this. So while it may seem frustrated, I'm really not. It's, this is preview stuff. They'll get it worked out before the final ships. It's not, it's not impacting, excuse me. It's not impacting production code or anything like that. This is hobby development at its finest at the moment. So, excuse me. Good Lord, I'm gonna sit here and choke on stream. Apparently, I can't even swallow water correctly today, so a lot of it could be user error. So it says you can't do it in Razor files, but let's see if it works with something like this. Like, what if I say my count instead of current count? Let's see. I'm gonna save. It updated. It updated the view in real time. So Razor files do seem to work. And you can see even a little banner come up that says it was updated. So if you're going to try this, I think what we learned today, we'll wrap up here because I think TJ's got a show starting at 11. I don't want to step on another stream that's starting. So let me double check that real quick. Because I need to give the stream, there is, I know this sounds silly in this day and age, but there is a cooldown time for the streams to switch over to another streamer on Twitch. So if I don't get off the air here in a minute, he's going to run into that window and it's going to be kind of a hot mess. So let's see. I don't see it on our schedule, but I know I saw something maybe on our internal calendar that said he had a stream today at 11. Let me ping him so I can go a little bit longer if folks are still interested in and seeing what we're up to here. All right, so pinging TJR, their streamer on this channel, and my React counterpart here at Progress. And I don't want to take up his stream if he's trying to get on, but for now I don't think he is. I don't know why I thought that, but we can play with some more of these new features if he doesn't need the channel for something. So did I okay, there we go. Sorry, I thought I actually accidentally broke the stream. Does hot reload work for Blazor Maui apps? Well, Blazor Maui apps need to work first, I think, is our problem, Curious Drive. I don't know if hot reload... I think hot reload is one of the things that was planned because it was already being done for pretty much the rest of .NET. Dan's on the same page. So hot reload does work. So we just tested it out. The main thing here is if you want to use hot reload, make sure you use .NET Watch. Okay? So that was the big thing. Where's our hot reload section here? The latest preview of Visual Studio has initial support for hot reload. You may have noticed the Apply Code Changes button. So here's an example of updating counter increment by 2. Notice that, okay. It's still a work in progress. There's a number of limitations. You must be attached with a debugger running. Code changes can only be applied from C#. Razor files. That makes no sense. Apply changes don't force the UI to update yet. So UI updates will need to be triggered manually. Changes cannot be applied to Blazor WebAssembly. So is this a Blazor server app then? Well, okay, I'm going to try something real quick. If I look at this, let's zoom in, and I zoom in again, can I tell this? Okay, I get it. This is a Blazor server project, folks. So this is a Blazor server project. So the example I tried to do first with the little fire button works in Blazor server. So I guess, I don't know why they went through all of this. So the wording here, I don't mean to critique these posts, by the way. Again, hats off to Dan for putting this together. But instead of saying it doesn't work in A, B, C, or D conditions, I would have just said it only works in Blazor server for now. The exclusion list is longer than the inclusion list. Therefore, I would have just made the inclusive part the default. Like, it only works in Blazor server, the end, and moved on. This is confusing me. Maybe this is just me. I'm kind of... I pretend to be smart on stream. I'm not that smart. Let's just say that. So I need things spelled out for me sometimes. But this did help. So the .NET Watch thing covers all of the rest of the bases. So the new feature, this Apply Code Changes button, only in Blazor server. Otherwise, use .NET Watch, and don't worry about the little hot reload button. So cool stuff. I like that. Let's look at these error boundaries real quick, and let me check my friend here and see if he's getting ready to stream. He's not responding, so that makes me kind of worried. I'm going to take up his slot. I'm sure he would jump into chat and just tell me get off. So let's see, error boundaries. We don't have one in the template. So let's try adding one and see what happens. So let's just redo their example here. I'm gonna kind of fudge the example a little bit though. Instead of saying error boundary at that level, I'm gonna see if I can just put it around the component. See if we can have multiple error boundaries in the app, because I think that's how I would probably handle this. Because if my component was, for example, going to fetch data, let's do it there. Let's do it on fetch data. Let's do our own example. This is a cool idea here that he shows. Let's Blazor files work. Let's just change this back to. Let's just go with count. We'll close this. Let's do an example of my own. We want to go into fetch data. This is what I would probably use this for if this does what I think it does. So we'd wrap a section of code with an error boundary. Let's do error boundary. And then inside of our error boundary, let's see if I'm using this right. Once we have the error boundary, we have child content or error content. And I'm going to throw child content around everything like this. And then we can throw an error boundary here. And maybe I can move this up a level after I, oops, not error boundary, after I test this idea out. Error, nope. What is the terminology here? I'm missing something. Error content. Child content, error content. So we have error content. We'll do a div class. Or do we need to put a class? Does it have its own? Let's not put anything crazy in here yet. Let's just put a paragraph with, we'll just throw some text on here just to see if this works. So if this component fails, actually let's move this down a level to the inner loop, because I want the table to show I want everything inside. Yeah, it was at the right spot. I'm not going to have an error on the H1 or the paragraph tag. So we'll move this around a little bit. And then let's go back to our app. It should be reloaded. I think I'm still in watch mode unless I close my browser tab. I closed my browser tab. It's still running. Oh no, there it is. So fetch data still works. So fetch data is still working. Let's move this off to the side again so we can do this side by side and see if hot reload picks this up for us. Wrong browser. I'm going to regret closing that. So here's our page working. Let's do the get from JSON async and break it. So it's pulling from weather forecast. Let's change that to fail. And then it's going to hit the wrong endpoint now. If I save this, it's updating the page, but I think the reload didn't occur. So actually, I do have to physically navigate away and come back. And the error throws to the top level because it's happening on initialize async, I guess. Am I misunderstanding how the component... Oh, that's probably why it needs to go up a level, I bet. Okay. Console says this is an error. Yeah, so it's getting back HTML and is trying to JSON serialize HTML, and it's failing. So this did not catch the error because it happened during the life cycle before this error boundary was created, maybe? Let's try moving it to the main layout as it showed in the example. So we'll put this up a level. And this maybe doesn't do what I thought it did. So I would like to have error boundaries within my component, I thought. So if I go to fetch data, I hit epic fail, but now the whole app is in fail mode. So that didn't exit gracefully. Smab UK was busy following build and missed the notification. I know I'm overrunning some build stuff, so overlapping build. So I expected some of that to happen. But welcome to the show. We have not been very successful anyway today. We've tried several of the new features of .NET Preview 4 and failed miserably, both on user error and just stuff not working. So I'll give you a recap, though. I think it's a good time to just recap what we looked at. So first of all, if you're going to install the preview, we're going to click through Preview 4 is available, click Install here. Make sure you click on the proper x64. I accidentally clicked x86 and did not get the right installer. We also found that the Maui check command line tool was better at installing all of the Maui bits, including the preview release. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this, there is a mention here of Maui check. So you can install that tool here at the bottom of the blog post for .NET Preview 4. And then you can run this, but however, the app doesn't work. And I think this is a pretty common problem. People are finding that this Maui app just simply doesn't load for some reason or another. NuGet packages are broken. We fixed the NuGet packages and it still fails to load. So you can see folks in chat here or in the comments are having issues, and it looks like it's something they're working on. And there's stuff that needs to be fixed before this is useful. So that didn't work. We do have hot reload working successfully. So hot reload, what we found with hot reload was they have a new apply code changes button in the UI Visual Studio, which is really cool. That lets you apply hot reload to code that hasn't even been saved yet. So if you just type it in, hit the reload icon, it will reload it. This only works in Blazor server and nothing else at the current time. So make sure you're only trying that in Blazor server. We accidentally tried it in WebAssembly because some of the text here was a little confusing. If you're using WebAssembly, do .NET Watch, and just simply saving your application will automatically give you the hot reload. So that's where we're at kind of now. We're trying the error boundaries, and I'm trying to get an idea of how these are supposed to be used. It says Blazor error boundaries provide a convenient way to handle exceptions within the component hierarchy. They do, but they don't. To define error boundary, use a new error boundary, wrap some existing content. The error boundary component will render its child content as long as everything is running smoothly. If an unhandled exception is thrown, error boundary renders some error UI. So here's the issue, though. I had an error on, I forced an error on the on initialize async. And if the error happens on initialize async, it seems to skip over that error boundary unless the error boundary is above the component hierarchy of the component that's throwing the error. So that kind of defeats the purpose of how I'd use it. Because things are going to still slip by the error boundary depending on where they happen. So the life cycle of the component is that if the error is in the oninitialized section of where the error boundary is found, it happens before the error boundary is rendered. Therefore, it misses the error boundary. So if I have it in my layout, which not very helpful here for me, it throws the error, and then there's no way to really recover this. It's showing the error message now on every page, and the error happened in fetch data. So I have to reload my app to get back into a working mode here. And then if I hit fetch data again, boom, there's the error. What I'd rather have is an error that can be handled within the component. So the page fails. And if I navigate away from the page that threw the failure, then I'm good to go. Yeah, the error boundary has to be around the components. That's the problem. It has to be around the page. And then once it happens, I can't get out of it. So now it says error has occurred, and now that the error has occurred, I have to reload the whole app to get this going. On each page, navigation, reset any error state. Okay, so I guess that's the next step. Once an exception is thrown, we only see the error. Okay, so it's generally best to scope error boundaries more narrowly than this, but they don't happen on initialize. So I'm confused. You can do this recover thing here, but it's not catching the error. It's minimally useful for me, I think. So what we need to do is do a ref on it. And then I need a code block at code here. And then let's throw an error boundary in here that we can capture as a reference. And then on each page navigation. So then we have to throw in, so we don't even have the code for this. We have to do, I don't think this is going to be caught. I think there's some code missing. I think we're supposed to put an on-navigate event in here. I don't think the on parameter set's enough, is it? So we'll go to here. Okay, so I guess on parameter set gets triggered on every page navigation is what they're saying. So this fails, and then I have to navigate a way to clear it. That's better, but I don't understand why I can't get the error boundary to pick up inside the component. Oh, Dan Roth has a good example this morning. See, I couldn't find his session on build, so I just gave up looking. I don't know what time that aired, but I'll go back and watch it on demand and see. What I would like to do is have this inside of my components so the components can error out. So I guess I would do what I've always been doing here and just wrap my error handling for this in my own view here. So I would set some flags up for errors and then show some UI for that error and put some type of reload option in here for that. I wonder if you can manually trigger this error section. That actually might be helpful. Let's see if that does anything. Can we manually, so we have a reference to it. Can I set an error on the error boundary? So if I trap this with a try catch, can I say error boundary? I have recover. I don't have any way to invoke it. The deep dive, okay, so you watched it on demand, so it wasn't live. That's why I couldn't find it on a schedule. Okay, so I'll have to check that out and see how he uses it. It's mildly interesting to me at this point. It's better than what we have for error handling, but still not as useful as I think it could have been. I've just done it manually, just writing my own error handling logic. So I didn't even think about making it like a larger component. So I guess that's on me. Okay, so I'm not going to go into C#10. Let's see what other Blazor things we might have in here. Async streaming. This is all the new Blazor bits, I think. It's unfortunate that the template's not working. The Maui template's not working. So I'll have to dig into that a little bit more off stream. So we got the error boundary working. So it is way better than the normal error message. I have to say that is much better than that. So at least we have something new in that regard. So instead of that yellow banner, we have full control now over the error message that's being shown. I think I saw a flash of text there as well. Yeah, so you do see it trying and it fails really quickly. Let's throw something on here. This is why loaders and all sorts of other things need to be part of our normal UI habits, because I could see this thing failing. So if I go in here and say task dot delay, let's simulate this is failing with a delay like this. It's going to say loading, I think. So if we go back, yeah, loading, and then boom, it fails. It wipes out the whole UI. I don't really care for that experience either. I wish it would preserve something or be, I don't know. Yeah, this leaves me with more questions than answers, I think. So I'll have to go check out the session. About 53 minutes in. Cool. Very cool. Generic type constraints. Mr. Magoo, I think you had a good example of what this is. We can look at this briefly. And okay, and my friend said he doesn't need to stream today. We can look at the generic type constraints thing really quick. Mr. Magoo, if you're still in chat, I know I saw you earlier, I believe. You're still around. If we look at this on the GitHub for issue for this, let me pull up that really fast, because I think there's an example of this in there by Mr. Magoo. Let's see, where did that go? I need to search for my link to it. Yeah, so here's the issue. And there's been workarounds for this, but it's still like one of the highest rated comments. So this used to throw an error. And if I look for Mr. Magoo, there we go. I thought there was a more in-depth example. There we go. So somebody took this to the next level here. It's still not, there we go. Partial constraint. There we go. Mr. Magoo, like, if you want somebody that's got really great examples of things that are not the typical basic Blazor scenarios, Mr. Magoo's where to look. Constrained component. So here's the razor for it. And this is, let's see here. We'll do a new, we'll just take his example verbatim here. It says shared, add, component. Did I not hit component? Shared, add, razor component. Why has it pulled that whole dialog up? Oh, I hate that. I hate that bug so bad. I do that all the time. So we'll drop that in there, and then I need to go back and erase this because I dragged and dropped it out of the UI onto my code. Good God. All right. So we'll drop this type parameter based component in here. And then if I go to, he uses a code behind in here because that was the problem. You had to do it in a code behind before. So here, let's do it this way first. So this was how you had to do it in .NET 5. So we'll go back in here, we'll hit add class, and then this is going to be so you had to use a code behind file previously to make this work. And I need to get the double namespaces out of here. And I took the using statement off I needed. So you'd have to specify it as the partial class to kind of scope this thing down. And it looks like Mr. Magoo's gone. He's not here right now, or he's being very quiet. So what you can do now is if you don't have the code behind, maybe you don't want a code behind, it's a very simple component, but you do need that constraint. What you can do instead is you can create a code block here. Then we'll go back and take this constraint off like this. And then we can delete this file. Delete the CS file. And then up here, we can say t-item, where t-item is new. Let's see here. Did I do that right? Let's look at the docs again. T-item, where t-item equals, yeah. So that should work. And yet again today, it's giving me errors. Unexpected literal following directive, which was the error before. Let's try their code. Let's see why. All right. Yeah, it still doesn't like it. So let's try closing that and coming back. Maybe it's a razor thing. And it looks like my .NET Watch is still running. Build. Nothing failed. So this looks like a false positive. It may be a Visual Studio thing. Let's try reloading Visual Studio real quick. This release just wants to make a fool out of me today. Let's try Web App 6 again. Yes, I am using the latest version of Visual Studio Preview. Thank you, Smab. I am. That was something I installed before the show. I do see an alert down here, but that shouldn't be related. Enable developer mode to develop Windows Universal Apps. I thought... Oh, okay. Yeah, I did that. Dismiss that. Solution, Explorer, Constrained Component. And I'm still getting an error message in here. It compiles, though. It did compile. So this is a false positive. This is not... What I mean by a false or false negative... Oh, no. Now I'm showing it here. Well, yeah, I'm going to show it there. So I should be able to run this still, even though I have an error. So it still builds just fine. Let's try to use the component. So, let's go to index. Constrain component, and then T item has to be, what did we constrain it to? Has to be a new class of some kind. So, what does this say? Requires a value. T item cannot be empty or contain white space. Okay. Code. Let's just do a var. Or no, we can't do var. Weather forecast equals. We'll drop a new weather forecast in here and see what this says when we try to apply it. Forecast does not exist in the current context. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Because I see it in my code. And it works there. But it doesn't work here as the T item. Oh, there it goes. Now, nope. There it goes. Cannot convert weather forecast to T item. Okay, that's more of a proper error. The constraint here is that T item should be a... This is just a class, am I right? Let's see, C#, constraint. Let's see if I've got the syntax right now. All right, so here's the constraint we're adding. The new constraint. New constraint specifies that the type argument in a generic class declaration must have a public parameterless constructor. So that is the constraint we're applying to our component, is that it must have a public parameterless constructor. That is all we're saying. And if I look at weather forecast, I have no constructors. So if I do public, or let's just CTOR, double tab, I'm not going to throw anything in there. I'm just ensuring that there's just something defined, just to troubleshoot this and see if that makes it happy. And then we'll rebuild the application And I did see an error still. Of course, it's still going to throw error. It's still not, yeah, the compiler's still not happy here. It doesn't think it knows what that is. Let's try to run it. There's no, it's not gonna run. Let's do a command line. Solution Explorer. Sometimes the command line will run these things, even if they're failing in Visual Studio. So let's do a open command line, open in terminal. So we should have satisfied that constraint. I think that's probably implicit anyway, and we made it explicit. So if I do .NET build, let's see what we get. Oh, it does not. It says T-item must be a non-abstract type with the public parameterless constructor in order to use it as a parameter T-item. The generic method or type. Okay, so it's still saying that it doesn't fit the constraint, which, in my opinion, it does fit the constraint. Or am I using this wrong? Should it just be, this is the type. My bad. Not the instance, right? Not valid in the given context. Shoot. Yeah, I'm getting confused now. This is throwing me off. Yeah, that didn't work either. Oh, I'm using this wrong. My bad. So that needs to be there. Let's do T item equals. I'm not getting a T item on that either because the compiler's not happy. T item would be the, oh, oops. There we go. And let's try building from here instead of Visual Studio. No. I'll have to research this one too. It seems like it's, oh wait, I didn't save. Let's try saving, rebuilding it. Ah, there it goes. Okay, I got it. So we had to, the IntelliSense is not working yet. So the feature works, the IntelliSense does not. So it looks like, T item needs to be set to the type. The type inference doesn't seem to be doing its job either, but it's partially there. It's partially working. So we can run that. So I can probably demonstrate how this can be applied now that at least it compiles and runs. Let's try loading this here. You have created a constrained component. So the code runs even though Visual Studio says it's invalid. So that's just something to be aware of. Smab, take care, my friend. Main keynote starts in just a few minutes, so we'll end the show here as well. We'll see if the Visual Studio channel is streaming the build content, and we'll move on. So let's see. So what this is doing is it's letting us constrain T item in this context here. So if I were to go back to weather forecast, and let's add if we're going to new one of these up, let's just say it has to have a date. And we'll say that, well, actually, we don't even have to set a property. We'll just throw some nonsense in here. Say string, some required value. And this should break that constraint. And we should now get a compiler error that no longer lets that piece of code work. And that is what I actually wanted this time. Because if we look at the error, I'll zoom in. There is no argument that corresponds to a required formal parameter. So now that we have this new constraint on here, this constraint says that we can only use a class with a parameterless constructor, and we just added a parameter to our constructor, breaking that contract that we set here. So now this is enabled. It doesn't compile yet, but the framework supports it. Sorry, the Visual Studio compiler doesn't support it yet, but the .NET 6 does. So sometimes the compiler in Visual Studio and the compiler that you run on the command line get out of sync. This is one of those scenarios. So that does work. We just checked it. It does work. And maybe we'll see. I'm going to go watch the video that was linked in chat here in just a minute and see what Daniel Roth's demos were like. And I think there's some stuff of value here that hopefully you all took away as well. Hot reload seems to be very cool. It worked very well with some cool things being planned for the future that you can use now in Visuals or in Blazor Server. So make sure you give those a look. The type constraints partially work. Looks like Visual Studio is going to need another update to make that happen, but the groundwork has been laid for the constraints to work without any workarounds by using code behind files. The error boundaries are better ways of handling the error exceptions that occur, unhandled exceptions that occur in your application. I use the word unhandled on purpose. I think these are good for unhandled exceptions. You should be trying to handle them more gracefully, I think, yourself. I don't think the error boundary is designed to do that. And I think that was maybe my misunderstanding while I was giving it a shot. This is for unhandled exceptions. And it replaces that yellow banner that you'd normally see at the bottom when an error error is not handled. So I think this is better than what we had, and there's a way to reset that. I think that is more graceful than what we have already, so that is definitely worth looking at. AOT, we didn't get a chance to check this out. I don't have anything that really tests the boundaries of this AOT stuff to see how much of a performance improvement it offers. I just don't have any apps that are that taxing, so it'd probably be better to look at some of the videos from Build and see what Daniel Roth is talking about. Speaking of, make sure you hit follow on the channel here. We're going to have a show with Daniel Roth here the second week of June, and we can have him on to talk about some of these things. So June 7th is the date that we have planned, Monday, June 7th. Daniel Roth's going to join us on the Code It Live network here and talk about .NET 6. Blazor Maui apps. I would suggest putting this one on hold, possibly till the next preview. This did not work in any way, shape, or form for me. I also have a Mac coming to help with the Maui efforts to see if we can build some iOS and desktop apps. So let's see if Build is kicking off in Twitch Anywhere. We'll go ahead and raid that channel. If you're on Twitch, you can just follow along there. If not, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, we will see you next week. Let me see what we've got for channels to raid. Is Microsoft... is anybody on the Microsoft network I don't see anything. Give me 1 sec. 1 sec. Twitch.tv. Let's see if I can find build streaming live from anywhere. I don't see build streaming live from anywhere, but I do see the 425 show. 425 shows a Microsoft friendly channel we can go raid. So we'll go raid them. 425 show. And say hello to the 425 show for me. We're queuing up now. Thanks for joining me in working through some of these awkward moments that we should have expected. These are preview bits. Again, I'm not complaining in any way about these things we ran into. That, you know, it's expected that some of this stuff's going to happen with preview bits. So, while I do nag a little bit, it's take it with a grain of salt. Like these are improvements that we're getting, and we'll see how they develop towards November, and I'm sure we'll be pretty happy with the results there. So take care. We'll see you soon, and say hi to 425 for us.